show called Arrested Development, with Ron Howard being the narrator during this series. During this on-scene appearance, he talks about the Apollo 11 mission being faked. I find it very interesting what he says in the LEM. I'm going to play this footage now. Let's take a listen. I'll continue on.
Michael, hey, thanks for coming down. Finishing up casting this Andy Griffith Show thing. Okay. Wait, hang on a second. You guys finally making that movie? I've been reading about it for like 40 years. Well, it's not a done deal yet, but I want to talk about you. Yeah. Hey, let's go inside the limb. You want to? Wow, is this the one that landed on the moon? On a soundstage. Oh, right, from Apollo 13. No, 1969. I'll tell you about it inside the limb. It's soundproof in there. And it's a national secret. So, NASA did go to the moon in 71. That one was real. But in 69, they weren't ready. So, they faked the whole thing on the soundstage of Gentle Ben.
This is how they do it, mixing truth with lies. I believe when he says they faked it and they filmed it on the soundstage of Gentle Ben. For those that don't know, it was the same time frame prior to the moon landing, 67. The series ended in 1969. And take a listen to what Ron Howard says here as well.
Yeah, me and my brother, we hid up in the rafters. We seen the whole thing.
And this is how they do it, mixing truth with lies. He's telling the truth as far as the Apollo 11 mission being filmed, basically on the soundstage again of Gentle Ben, saying how him and his brother saw it take place on the soundstage. Now, when it comes to the 1969 moon landing hoax, of course, he's telling the truth there. It's nothing but a hoax, and I understand exactly what they're trying to accomplish here. I understand a good amount of people know the 1969 moon landing was a hoax. The footage looked fake. Everything about it was faked. They understand this, so trying to pull in those that don't believe in the 69 moon landing, make them convince them in another way that they actually got in the moon. So they have a good amount of people, a good amount of the sheep that believe the 69 moon landing was legit. Now they're trying to pull in a certain amount of so-called conspiracy theorists and make them wonder, maybe they did land on the moon. So it doesn't matter if it was in 69 or 71. They just want you to believe that somehow, at some time, they actually landed on the moon when they never been to the moon and they never will go to the moon. That's simple. After uploading that short clip of supposed Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield talking about eventually going to the moon, I'm going to upload this longer version, only about a little bit over a minute long. This is all I have. I don't have a longer clip. Just a side note, you know how the so-called elite love a play on words when they call them astronauts, because they've never been in space. That's why they're called astronauts. This is how the elite love to mock all those that believe that somehow these phonies can get into space. What exactly do rockets push against in the vacuum of space? Rockets never been in space. Period. When you see a rocket launch, you always see it go at an angle towards the ocean. All it does is crash back into the ocean. You'll never see that full footage. That's why you see the Kennedy Space Center, for example, right next to the ocean. Exactly like you see in this image here, with this huge arch. Again, nothing more than a rocket that launches and comes back down to Earth. And there are plenty of images of this on Google Images. You can take a look for yourself. I'm not going to show them all here. And someone asked, what about the shuttle landings? I saw it on TV. Very easy to explain. It's just like watching a movie where pieces are edited together. When it's time for the supposed return of the space shuttle from outer space, all they do is have a so-called space shuttle, which is nothing more than an airplane, come in for a landing, as shown on TV. And I'll demonstrate that again for the new viewers. And just for reference, for anybody that hasn't seen my previous videos exposing the space shuttles being nothing more than airplanes, let's first take a look at these supposed space shuttles. Look at these wings. You think these wings will help this supposedly 80-ton space shuttle come in for a glide landing with no engines? This thing would fall out of the sky like a rock. No way this is a space shuttle. Now, to confirm what NASA even states, This is the text from their website. A glider is a special kind of aircraft that has no engine. The space shuttle flies as a glider during re-entry and landing. During ascent, that's of course the initial flight, thrust is provided by 3 space shuttle main engines at the base of the orbiter and the 2 solid rocket boosters that are joined to the orange external fuel tank. Of course, orange for 33. The solids are jettisoned about 2 minutes into ascent, and the fuel tank is jettisoned as the shuttle enters Earth's orbit. So there are no propellants available to the SSMEs during descent. So make that clear. There's no propellants. Though the engines are still present, the shuttle returns as an unpowered glider. Now before showing the footage, like I stated, this is no space shuttle, this is an airplane, and here is your jet engines. Now let's take a look at this footage with the supposed landing of the space shuttle. Again, nothing but an airplane coming in for a landing at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm going to play this footage and break it down a bit. Then I'm going to play the footage again uninterrupted. I'll show again, this is nothing more than an airplane. I'm going to also mention here during the playing of the video, there's going to be a plane in the distance. And you're going to tell this is way too far to be the jet engines from that plane. It's clearly from the supposed space shuttle. Take a look and take a close listen. Now first off, look at the elevation that you have here. It's coming in for the landing. No way a glider could be that low and maintain this level throughout if it's a glider. Now here are the engines.
There's a shuttle.
One thing I want to point out, here is a supposed chase plane, which is in the very far distance. Let's take a look and listen at the rest of the landing of this airplane. And also, again, if you think it's this plane in the back, the supposed chaser plane, you are completely deceived, completely deluded, stuck on the lie, and you can't get out of it. Take a look and listen.
Touchdown. There's a shuttle. Touchdown.
Talking about frauds, getting back to Mark Kelly, the astronaut. Here he is with another fraud, Gabriella Giffords. Let's take a look at this image of Gabriella Giffords speaking about gun control. You can clearly see this is not the same woman. This is an actor, an actress taking her spot. Clearly see it's not the same person. Wearing orange, of course, 33 in Freemasonry. Just look at these two here. Two frauds married to each other. Match made in hell. And talking about frauds, let's listen to the rest of Chris Hadfield's interview on BBC where he goofs up. He talks about eventually going to the moon and beyond. It's a little bit over a minute long, almost 2 minutes actually. Take a listen at this fraud, just like Mark Kelly, just like Buzz Aldrin. All of these supposed astronauts are all Freemasons, all liars, deceiving the public. This is what Masonry is all about, deception. Take a listen.
How important is the engineering, the fact that we've learned to build such a large structure in Earth orbit?
It's sort of as if, you know, when a little kid is sailing their sailboat in a pond remotely, at some point that then person starts to sail a sailboat up and down the coast, and then they invent and learn and study and figure out all the things they need to do so that maybe then someday they can actually sail out of sight of land. And the station has been orbiting the Earth as if we're sort of sailing within sight of land as we invent I mean, what do you make the hull out of? How do you navigate? What food do you need? How do you make a toilet that'll work forever? How do you recycle water? How do you recycle the oxygen? It's the main crucible test bed where we've been trying to grind out all the lessons that will eventually let us go to the moon.
Astronauts to the moon. Astronauts to the moon. Astronauts to the moon. Astronauts to the moon.